Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering unboxing. Today I'm going to have a look at the Khans of Tarkir event deck. So this follows on from the last unboxing, which was Khans of Tarkir Fatback. Currently what's happening with these event decks is they're producing them for every other set. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at what came out for 2015, what they did with the 2015 core set is they released this Clash Pack, which is a sort of, I suppose, somewhere between a dual deck product and an event deck. So the idea is, out of the box you can use this as a dual deck, but you're supposed to be able to combine the most powerful cards and produce a deck similar in power to an event deck. And what I'll do at some point is I will unbox this so we can take a look at it and sort of compare it to something like an event deck. So going back to the Khans of Tarkir, in the next set, going by what was originally announced, we're going to then see another two-player Clash Pack. But it'd be interesting to see, in light of announcements about the redesign of blocks, after the 2016 core set, which will be the last core set they produce, it'll be interesting to see what they do with this alternating between Clash Packs and event decks, whether they carry on with that or whether they do something different. We're also now down to just a single event deck per set, whereas before, a few sets ago, there was always two. So now this is another set where there's just one event deck. So in here, if you've not seen one of these before, and we'll see when we crack this open, but what you have inside is a 60 card deck, a sideboard, and a spin down counter, and also like a how to play guide in here. So we'll just get this open. I'm just trying to see whether I can tell from the top. So looking down from above, looks like this is a white-black deck, I think. Difficult to tell really the way they've got this sort of, the other ones are coloured out to match up the background of the box, but we'll see once we start cracking this and looking at the cards. So this box also turns into a card box. When you put sleeves on here, they do actually fit into this. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but it does actually do it. So let's have a look. See what's inside. Yep, as is always the same. There's our spin down counter with the symbol there, set symbol. There's our sideboard, our main deck, our divider, our rules reference card, which replaces the previous very large how to play fold out. So this is a sort of real heavily summarized version of how to play Magic in terms of the terms there spelt out, and the layout of the card, and a little bit about lands. Let's just open up the deck guide here. So, as with all of these deck guides for the event decks, we have a breakdown of what's in here in terms of creatures, other spells, our lands, and our sideboard, and also the sets that they come from, and how to play the deck. Now it looks like we've got useful to cast creatures with team pumping abilities, so that's obviously going to be a feature of the deck. We've got some enchantments, and Rush of the Battle, so there's some boost spells. And then it talks about how you deal with large creatures in here, what sort of removal you've got. And then also with the sideboarding side of things, like how what you would substitute out in certain instances. And then on the back we've just got a little bit about tournaments and events, the formats of Magic, and tips for a successful event there. Because of course obviously this product is very much pitched at trying to encourage people to play in events, although there has been criticism about the power of these decks and how well you would actually do using them based on the type of event that you're using them in. Anyway, let's have a look through just so you can see what you're getting, because that's really what the main focus of this is, to understand a little bit about the mechanics of the deck and how the cards sort of synergize with one another. So first up we got a 1-drop here, Herald of An Affenza. So this is a 1/2 for 1 white. It is a rare. It's got Outlast 2 and a white. So with Outlast, what you can do is for 2 and a white, you can tap it, put a 1/1 counter on the creature. Whenever you activate Herald of An Affenza's Outlast ability, put a 1/1 white warrior creature token onto the battlefield. So Outlast, very good if you haven't got anything particular to do on a turn, you've got a bit of excess mana. You can obviously activate this Outlast ability, although of course it does tap the creature, which means depending on where you play that on your turn, that's obviously going to put it out of action for combat, or simply you're not going to be able to necessarily activate that ability if it's already engaged in something that's already tapped it previous to that point. Blood-Soaked Champion, another 1-drop. So 2/1 for 1. Blood-Soaked Champion can't block. It's got Raid on it. So another keyword here that is particular to this set. So for raid, for 1 and a black, we get to return Blood-Soaked Champion from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only if you attacked with a creature this turn. So all raids are tied in with only being able to use them if you attacked with a creature this turn, although what they actually do is different for different colours and different cards. Painseer, 1 and a black for a 2/2. Another rare. It's got Inspired. Whenever Painseer becomes untapped, reveal the top cards of your library, put that card into your hand. You lose life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Herald of Torment, another rare, 1 and 2 black for 3/3. It's got Bestow on it, 3 and 2 black. If you cast this card for its bestow cost, it's an aura spell with enchant creature. It becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. It has flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and it has flying. Spirit Bonds, another rare, 1 and a white, enchantment from M15. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a 1 white. If you do, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. 1 and a white, sacrifice a spirit. Target non-spirit creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Spear of Heliod, another rare, 1 and 2 white, legendary enchantment artifact. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and for 1 and 2 white and a tap, you can destroy target creature that dealt damage to you this turn. Silence the Believers, instant, 2 and 2 black, another rare. It's got Strive. Silence the Believers cost 2 and a black, more to cast for each target beyond the first. Exile any number of target creatures and all auras attached to them. Dictate of Heliod, another rare. 3 and 2 white, enchantment flash. Creatures you control get +2/+2. Dictate of Erebos. So there's some dictates here. 3 and 2 black. Enchantment with flash again. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So we've got some fixing through the Caves of Quelos. So you can tap it, add 1 colour to your mana pool, or you can tap it, add white or black. So fixing for white or black, which it's obviously apparent that this deck is a white-black deck. So add white or black to your mana pool, and Caves of Quelos deals 1 damage to you. There's a Mardu Hate Blade in here, so it's 1 white for 1/1. You can activate its ability with 1 black. Mardu Hate Blade gains Death Touch until end of turn, and there's 2 of those, actually 3 in the deck. Tormented Hero. It's another 2/1. Tormented Hero enters the battlefield tapped. Also has Heroic on it. So whenever you cast a spell that targets Tormented Hero, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. And there are 3 of those. Oriskos Swiftclaw. 1 and a white for a 3/1. And there are 3 of those. Seeker of the Way, 1 and a white, 2/2 with prowess on it. So with prowess, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Seeker of the Way gains lifelink until end of turn. And 2 of those. Mardu Skull Hunter. So 2 and a 1 for a cost of 1 and a black. It enters the battlefield tapped. It has Raid on it. So when Mardu Skull Hunter enters the battlefield, if you attack with a creature this turn, target opponent discards a card. 3 of those. Chief of the Edge, multicoloured white-black for a 3/2. Other warrior creatures you control get +1/+0. And there are 2 of those. So you should see in this deck, if you've not seen it already, there's obviously a warrior sub-theme, warrior theme to synergize with these sort of warrior abilities. Chief of the Scale is white-black 2/3. Other warrior creatures you control get +0/+1, so that's the reverse of Chief of the Edge. 2 of those. Mardul Horde Chief, 2 and a white for a 2/3 with Raid on it. So in its Raid ability, when it enters the battlefield, and again if you attack with a creature this turn, put up a 1/1 white warrior creature token onto the battlefield, and you can see there's a token theme in this deck going on here as well from some of the earlier cards. Timely Horde Mate, 3 and a white for a 3/2 with Raid. So with this Raid ability, when it enters the battlefield and if you've attacked this turn, you get to return a target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we've got some graveyard shenanigans going on in the deck as well. There's 2 of those. Bile Blight, 2 black, target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature get -3/-3 until end of turn. Banishing Light. When Banishing Light enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. It's 2 and a white. There's 2 of those in there. We've got a Rush of the Battle. 3 and a white. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. Warrior creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. So again, some warrior synergy. Raiders Spoils. 3 and a black. Creatures you control get +1/+0. Whenever a warrior you control deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 1 life. If you do, draw a card. Raiders Spoils, again, the one. And then some more land here. So we've got fixing for white-black. Enters the battlefield tapped as Scoured Barrens. But when Scoured Barrens enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. And you can tap it, add white or black to your mana pool. And there are 4 there, so full complement. And then we've got our land. So as I said, so white and black here. And there we see just a quick flick through the land so you can see the artwork on that. And then once we've had a look at this, we'll take a look at our sideboard. So lots of different triggered abilities there. So we've got we have the this warrior theme in here going on. A lot of the enchantments we saw in here are sort of interacting with that, and the sorceries, again, some of the sorceries care about warrior in there, and obviously a lot of creatures here, warriors as a subtype. You can see, just flicking through these. In fact, I believe pretty much every single creature, apart from these ones, and there's another warrior. So you're very, very warrior heavy deck, and lots of synergies going on between that, those cards and the rest of the deck. And like I said, there's some token stuff there as well. And not surprising, the tokens tend to be warrior creatures. So here's our sideboard. So this we can obviously swap out certain cards for certain matchups. So we've got Tormund's Crypt. So this 0 to cast. It's an artifact. We can tap it, sacrifice it, and exile all cards from target player's graveyard. So that's basically good when our opponent may be engaged in some sort of graveyard interaction as a main part of their deck, and obviously depriving of that resource is going to have a big impact. There's two of those. Dark Betrayal, use this to just straight destroy a target black creature for 1 black, and there's 3 of those, obviously good against mono black decks, mono black creature decks. Despise, target player reveals his or her hand. You choose a creature or planeswalker card from it. That player discards that card. It's 1 black, very cheap. Basically, what you've got there is you're going to use it to go after a specific threat that you think that the opponent may have in their hand. So that could be a bomb that you know they might be using in their deck, or it could be a component part of, say, a combo deck. They just disrupt their the flow of the deck, if you like. Glare of Heresy, exile target white permanent. So in certain sets, you're going to find that again, the ability to deal with a very, very disruptive permanent that's going to have a big influence on the board state. Obviously you need ways of dealing with that in Magic generally, but that's particularly important when you may have certain very strong enchantments or certain cards that behave in a way that they give pumping or support or big synergy to other cards. So, or in things, obviously, because this is going after a particular colour of permanent here, and dealing with that, exiling that. Brain Maggot, 1 and a black. When Brain Maggot enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand, and you choose a non-land card from it. Exile that card until Brain Maggot leaves the battlefield. So another way of basically pulling out key cards from an opponent's hand. And there's 2 of those. We've got Solemn Offering, 2 and a white, destroy target artifact to enchantment, you gain 4 life. You always need ways of dealing with enchantments and artifacts in a sideboard. particularly a set like where you're in a block where you're going to see lots of these sort of creature enchantments and a lot of very strong artifacts. Drowning Sorrow, white and 2 black. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Scry for 1. Great way of dealing with a sort of weenie decks. Any deck someone's playing where they've got a lot of creatures with 2 toughness or less. But obviously you have to use it very carefully, because there's a number of creatures in your own deck which could fall into that if they're unpumped. Obviously, as certain synergies kick in within this deck, that's going to put them out of sort of Drown of Sorrow's a removal range. But that's something obviously be very careful of with removal, mass removal like that. So there we have the Khans of Tarkir. It's called Conquering Hordes is the name of the deck, and I hope that gave you a good idea of basically of what's in there, what you're getting, and what basically the main themes are in the deck. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.